Devotional. Faith, certainty in the invisible. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. The Christian faith is not simply an act of uncertain hope, but a solid certainty in what we have not yet seen, but which we know to be real because of God's promises. This definition challenges us to understand faith not as something ethereal or vague, but as a firm and sure foundation in the truth of what God has revealed. In a world full of uncertainties and what seems to be evidence to the contrary, faith invites us to walk with confidence, believing in what is not yet visible, but which God has promised. 1. Faith is certainty, not doubt. When the author of Hebrews speaks of faith as certainty, he is telling us that faith is not an unstable feeling or a doubting expectation. Faith is a firm conviction, a solid trust in God's promises. Even if we cannot see with our eyes what we expect, we are confident that what God has promised will be fulfilled. It's like waiting for a package that is known to be on its way. Although we don't see it, we are certain of its arrival. Faith anchors us in the certainty that God is faithful and fulfills what He promises, even when circumstances do not seem to reflect it. 2. Faith is conviction, not mere supposition. The verse also describes faith as conviction of things not seen. The word conviction implies a deep-seated assurance. It is not a vague belief or an unfounded idea, but an inner certainty that transforms our lives and our decisions. Faith allows us to be convinced that God is at work, even when we don't see the immediate results. It is the confidence that even though our eyes cannot perceive what God is doing, He is quietly working behind the scenes to accomplish His will. 3. Faith is demonstrated in active waiting. The verse also shows us that faith is tied to what is hoped for. Active waiting is one of the most powerful manifestations of faith. As we wait, we do not remain passive, but act with the conviction that God is in control and that His will be done in His perfect timing. Faith moves us to live according to what we believe, to make choices, and to walk in obedience, even when we don't see the answer or immediate fulfillment. This active waiting is a constant trust that, despite the appearance of the present, what we hope for in faith will materialize. Practical applications. 1. Trust what you don't see. The Christian life is full of situations where we can't see the outcome right away. But as believers, we are called to walk by faith, trusting that God is in control, even when we don't understand what's happening. Don't let the visible make you doubt what God has promised. 2. Act on your conviction. Faith is not only believing, but acting according to what we believe. If you have faith in God's promises, let that faith be reflected in your daily life, making choices that align your life with what you know God is doing, even if you don't see it yet. 3. Wait patiently. Faith involves waiting on God, knowing that He keeps His promises in His perfect timing. During this time of waiting, don't sit idly by, but keep your trust actively in Him, seeking His will and persevering in prayer. Conclusion. Faith is much more than a vague hope. It is a firm assurance and deep conviction that what we hope for will be fulfilled, even if we do not yet see it. Faith allows us to walk in the certainty of God's promises, trusting in the invisible and patiently waiting for the fulfillment of His will. By living by faith, we are not simply believing in what we see, but trusting in what God has promised, knowing that His faithfulness is more real than any circumstance. May our faith be like that of the great men and women of the Bible, who lived and acted with the certainty of what was not seen, but who trusted fully in God.